The Sixth Sense is a 1999 movie about one child's terrifying visions of horrible ghosts, which was celebrated as one of the most memorable and chilling horror films of the time. Naturally, this was a critical reception that my parents wanted to verify with their 8-year-old child, who already had lots of nightmares and would cry at 4 out of 5 sleepovers. And for all we know, those issues were just about to magically resolve themselves before they brought home this VHS from Blockbuster. I asked over on Twitter if this movie had similarly ruined anybody else's childhoods, and in doing so may have pinpointed the reason why millennials spend all of their extra money on guided sleep meditations, adaptogenic chocolate bars, and CBD sex toys. How am I supposed to sleep when every time I close my eyes, I'm haunted by memories of The Sixth Sense with its angry specters, corpsey kids, and that one scene between Bruce Willis and a promising new co-star, Bruce Willis's hairpiece. I believe his name was Hairpiece Joel Osment. Today, I'm taking you through each of this movie's ghostly encounters that terrified me so as a child, ranking them on a scale of 1 to 10 night terrors, while analyzing what filmmaking techniques I think were used to make each of these scenes so effectively traumatizing. So do some deep breathing or call your ketamine therapist while we reopen some childhood wounds on an I See Dead People installment of Clip Breakdown. Hello television viewers, my name is Nick. Thank you so much for joining me once again on my channel for another installment of Clip Breakdown. This is the playlist where we dive into our favorite movies, TV movies, and other content found on the web, and we break them into little clips like individual sessions with your child psychologist to determine, are they mentally ill or are ghosts real? Listen, this was probably one of the movies that inspired me to become a fan of the horror genre in the first place, and certainly the one that made me really appreciate the art of writing and directing, thanks to M. Night Shyamalan, who really started out on a career high with this one. Going through this entire movie to pull out just all of the ghost scenes, I was actually surprised to see that the first one doesn't really appear until halfway through, but that doesn't mean there aren't enough to wet our whistle here. And while I think all of the ghostly interactions in The Sixth Sense are scary or creepy in their own way, they definitely don't all play on the same level for me. Like, some of these things I still think about all the time. This first ghost that our character Malcolm hears is on his tape recorder. It's actually session tape from him listening to Vincent Gray, a former patient of his, kind of crying as a child, but then he turns up the volume. I also love this because it implies that, oh, we can hear ghosts on my tape recorder, I just have to turn up the volume. Like, ghosts are just talking really quietly. Let's all listen now. Okay, they're not a huge fan of my work. That's fun. Let's see what Malcolm hears.
Yo no quiero morir en este lugar, Señor. Sálvame. Sálvame, Señor. Oh my God. Yo no quiero morir.
That's me when I finally memorize a new vocab word on my Spanish language tapes. I had to skip ahead to the begging for mercy section once I saw World War III was trending on Twitter. But I can't quite capture that weepiness of the guy on the recording. Sálvame! Sálvame, por favor! Also, could somebody please comment the Russian translation for fragrance-free detergent only? Otherwise, I'm gonna be one very grumpy POW. I think this is a nice audio-only version of a ghost because it's played more as like an emotional revelation for Malcolm rather than meant to be an actual thrill or scare. And I think that their use of close-ups and of the sweeping musical score really helps to, sell the emotional importance of this for him. I think it's hard, if you think about it, to make someone who's listening to a tape recorder look very visually cinematic. So I appreciate the way M. Night Shyamalan was able to do that with the knobs that he was turning, slowly transitioning to that like red color, which was really symbolic in this movie. It's good art direction. You chose the right prop to make this more than just you turning up the knob on something. It feels like significant. Also, with the twist we get from Bruce Willis's character later, pretty much every scene upon rewatching holds some secondary significance just by the props that he's able to interact with or the set that he is unable to interact with. Either way, I give this 1 out of 10 night terrors because it doesn't really scare scare me too much, but I still appreciate it as a scene. The other aspect of this movie that sort of helps keep it in this PG-13 realm, or even has probably a lot of people not consider The Sixth Sense to be a horror movie and more like a psychological thriller, which is fair. Although, I mean, if you're gonna categorize it, I think it pretty squarely fits in horror too. But one of the, I guess, less horrific elements is that our main character, Cole, realizes over time that he's just supposed to be helping these ghosts that he sees resolve their death. This is the first scene where we start to see that happen, and I just love the juxtaposition between the really gruesome imagery and the less than gruesome significance behind the scene.
Yeah, I think that's enough. That's enough makeup. We have to hurry.
Who were you talking to?
Oh, just Skin Graft Sally. She was giving me some makeup tips. You would not know it by looking at her, but she's really great with concealer. I love the burnt teacher because, as I said, it's the first ghost that Cole never seems afraid of on camera. I also love how it has a complete lack of a musical score when the teacher turns around and reveals she's half burned. I think it makes it more of like a breathtaking surprise than like another jump scare wound reveal, which we see earlier in the movie and in another example on this list. I like how each of the ghosts in these movies feel like their own unique moment that have some sort of turning point attached to them. It's like we're either learning something new about the world that the movie is setting up, or we're watching character growth through these interactions. And it helps it all, the way that he varies the editing styles and the way that they score it, it makes it feel like it's not just a copy and paste horror job where it's just like, we're scaring you with ghosts, we're scaring you with ghosts. It's using the psychological horror of it to push the story forward. And it's just great writing. Like, after we see that burnt teacher, we get a little more clever writing that is funny while also confirming what we just saw.
You know, when I went to school here, there was a terrible fire in this section of the theater. They rebuilt the whole thing.
Yeah, I know.
Cole's like, it's so funny that you mentioned that, because I was just hearing that story from the charred corpse of your first grade teacher, Mrs. W. She says you cried like a baby when the smoke alarms went off. Embarrassing. I give the burnt teacher 4 out of 10 night terrors, and they're like cozy night terrors, like a Christmas Eve panic attack. I like that she's like, oh, a nice teacher, that's enough makeup, oh, we're ready for the show, have fun. She's always good. And Cole can be like, you know what, I actually need a good teacher in my life. I'm just gonna look at you like this. Here is an incredible scene. It's towards the end of the movie where Cole finally feels safe to admit to his mother that he has this secret that haunts him. And that's sort of his whole character progression, is learning to accept that this is something he has, and that, you know, he's always afraid to tell his mom, he's afraid to tell anyone, he's afraid that his mom won't like him. So his coming out with this is very emotionally heavy, and it's also relatable to anybody who's ever had to tell their parents something about themselves that they were afraid of how they would react.
A lady. She died.
Where is she?
Standing next to my window.
Oh, you're scaring me.
They scare me too sometimes.
Oh my god, she died wearing a fleece vest. I love Bicyclena's costume here, probably because it's the most recognizably late 90s one in the whole movie, but also not a great endorsement for those cheap Bell bike helmets we used to all have. I was always curious about how those just perched on the top of my head though, like, okay, I guess the back and sides of my skull are on their own. I will also always remember Bike Accident Lady because to me, she looks very similar to the woman who watched me during daycare, Miss Joanne. Miss Joanne also got hit by a car while riding a bike, but I only drove into her because I thought she was this ghost from The Sixth Sense, so. And what really sucked is they didn't even let me finish my driver's exam after that. They just like failed me on the spot. Again, the lack of musicals sting when they show the woman outside the window is such a refreshing change of pace for some of the more intense scares that we're gonna see through the rest of this list. Because again, those reveals weren't really intended to be heart-stopping scares so much as just like, almost like a representation of what Cole's life is like, where he's, you know, seeing these people just in the background all all the time. So it's a much more grounded representation of what this haunting kind of gift would be like for Cole. There are also ghost reveals in this movie that I just feel like really help strengthen the screenplay's effectiveness. Like something will be mentioned in a certain scene and then won't visually pay off for several scenes or maybe until the next act, but it's memorable enough in each case that the audience's mind kind of makes the connection right away.
They used to hang people here. They'd pull the people in crying and kissing their families bye.
Cole, this building was a legal courthouse full of lawyers, lawmakers.
They were the ones that hanged everybody.
Even the ghosts in the room are like, oh, that's a little too much historical accuracy for an American school. Most teachers will just make up some part about how Abraham Lincoln rode into town and saved everybody like Robin Hood. So, shh, shh. While here in the beginning of the movie, it establishes how much of an outcast Cole is at school, even to his teachers, it also perfectly sets up this frightening reveal. This is a little bit later when Cole is in school with Dr. Malcolm, who is now his therapist.
Cole?
Ooh, don't worry, Mama. We're gonna get Sally's skin graft over here from the theater department with her derma blend. We can't have you covered in scratches if you're gonna be hanging there for all of eternity. This is a private school, so you gotta look presentable in case, you know, tour groups come through. You understand. I'm not sure why these are the only ghosts in the whole movie that are not like walking around as though they're alive. They're the only ones we see as corpses. But the fact that there was a dead kid swinging there, that scarred me for life. 6 out of 10 night terrors. I don't like that there's a kid and it's scary that they're in a school. It's like such horrifying imagery, but they're not moving or talking, so it spared me some nightmare fuel. Now, however, the fun is over. We're straight in nightmare territory from here on out. Oh, these ruined my whole life. The scariest part is, that's what I used to look like trying to scarf down oatmeal in the bathroom stall before my 8 a.m. shift at the makeup counter. People would be like, did you sleep last night? I'd be like, don't look at me! I love when people talk about Misha Barton's most iconic role being Marissa Cooper from the OC, and I get to indignantly correct them like, I think you mean Kyra the puke puke girl who says she's feeling better now? Yep, that's right. I'm annoying in real life. 7 out of 10 night terrors for Kyra here because it's terrifying how she ends up in his safe space. He's like, I built this tent to like be a zen kind of environment and you pulled the clothespins off of it. So that's really toxic behavior. Kyra, I didn't like that at all. She's ruining his fort. But it's not always as terrifying as it could be because she also gives us a quote that I find really fun to pull out in daily life.
I'm feeling much better now.
That may be, sweetheart, but it's clear from looking at you that's probably just your terminal illness playing hide and seek because your face is borderline closed casket right now. That's how scary. However, one time I spent a full day vomiting from food poisoning, and after every time I would say, I'm feeling much better now, and it always made me smile because I'm like, I'm Kyra puke puke girl. I'm Kyra the puke puke girl. Kyra is also the first ghost that teaches Cole he can like talk to them and figure out what it is their unfinished business is. Oh, and it's hilarious, the unfinished business factor. M. Night Shyamalan was almost terrified up until the point that this movie came out that people would compare it to Casper, which came out just a few years before. And at first I was like, why would they? It's not anything like that. But then I think of like, oh, the unfinished business thing. But thank goodness, I mean, I never made that connection really because they never used the term unfinished business. And I believe the Casper movies are like using that phrase constantly. Actually, The Sixth Sense was inspired, as M. Night said himself, by an episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark, another show that frequently traumatized me as a kid, so it makes sense. Let me know if you'd like to see me cover that episode of television as well. I'm always a little confused how Cole just like goes to some random funeral, but he does. Sweetie, that better be a box of flushable wipes because I just exploded expelled my bowels all over this Pottery Barn Kids merchandise. As you can see, I was really scared of the scary kids as a kid, and you would be too. Especially if, I'm already not feeling this one. This is the ghost that I tweeted about, where people responded with the ghosts that ruined their childhoods, but this is the one that I remember a lot. Oh no, look out, it's Kelso from that 70s show. It's somehow even worse. Behold, the reason to this day I'm afraid of hallways, guns, and kids with braces.
Hey, come on. I'll show you where my dad keeps his gun. Come on.
When people from the NRA see that, they're like, and what's the problem? We see a heartwarming hobby shared between a father, son, and the weapon that turned the back of his head into a tofu scramble. To us, this is a classic holiday film. I hate it so much that I have to watch it again.
Hey, come on. I'll show you where my dad keeps his gun. Come on.
I'm crying, it cries, it makes me tear up when I see it. I think it's the secretive whisper that haunts my dreams. Ooh, come on, I'll show you where my dad keeps his guns. Ooh, I'm always expecting him to be at the end of the hallway at night. Ooh, I hate it, ooh, I hate it. He's making my nose water. Oh, I'm salivating. I hate that kid. Come on, I'll show you where my dad keeps his guns. I can't even do it, it makes me freak out. Ah! For me, this is a two-pronged attack. It utterly shocks you with that silent him crossing through the background. It's like, oh my God, the way that scares me, just like silently walking through the frame like that. It is really, I think, an awesome way to challenge your audiences to not try to like cue them for every single scare with music. But then they have him come back in and do the reveal when he turns around. This time, unlike with The Burnt Teacher, giving us that classic horror sting. So it just like really allows like the scare to build. And again, I think some of the scariest instances of ghost interactions in The Sixth Sense are when it shows the ghost like silently moving about the location before they interact with Cole, because it's like, it just gives you the sense that he's living in these haunted houses where it's like, you're just waiting for someone to come through the door and scare you. I give that 8 out of 10 night terrors. Ooh, the bizarrely realistic performance of that 70s kid, like the fact that he's a 70s kid, like it all just freaks me out. Also, I want to be him for Halloween. That's a good one, right? People would be like, who are you supposed to be? And you'd be like, come on, show you where my dad keeps his guns. Come on. Ooh, I just scared myself again. I can't stand him. Ooh, I'm too soft for this. People are always like, Nick, why don't you do a clip breakdown on a movie you like? And I'm like, cause I'm scared of the movies that I like. And this one next, we started this list off with an audio only ghost on Malcolm's tape recorder. Oh, that was a nothing. A 1 out of 10 night terrors compared to what this is. When Cole is at the birthday party, this is again, one of the first ghost encounters we see in the movie, and it's just an audio version, but it's so scary to me. Oh, you just have to watch. This is gonna make me cry too.
Someone out there, open this door, please. Come on. I can't breathe. If you can hear me, open this door. I swear on my life I didn't take the master's horse. Open this door, I'll break through it and grab you.
I'm crying. It makes my eyes tear up because I can't. But at the same time, I'm like, ooh, you're gonna grab me in your big, strong ghost arms? I wish you would, angry dumbwaiter daddy. Oh no, why do the things that scared me as a child now elicit a psychosexual response as an adult? Speaking of which, can one of you break into my house tonight? I'll light some candles. That's some of the scariest voiceover work I've ever heard in my life. That's a 9 out of 10 night terrors. And the fact that like, the voice is so angry, it kind of, I think what fucking f***s me up about it is that it sounds like if you ever have like a fever and you start to become delirious, sometimes I would get these weird, loud, angry voices in my head. They're like, rah, huh, huh, and it's like just terrifying. More so when I was a kid. And that guy sounds exactly like those voices. And he says he's gonna jump out there and grab you. You're just like, oh, it's like he's trying to scare a little kid. And it's like, why are you in that dumbwaiter? Like the unknown, mysterious backstory story behind that ghost, oh, it just gives me the eternal chills. And the fucking fact that we don't see what goes on in there, like the kids take Cole and push him in there, and we just hear Cole like struggling in there, and like what terror, what terror. We are really now building up to the main mama. This one, it's like, God, I feel like when movies take like the act of getting up and going to the bathroom in the middle of the night and add fear to that, it's really vulnerable and unfair. If you saw this movie as a child, you have urinary problems now. I still don't want to get out of bed at night sometimes because of this scene. And I'm finally ready to take legal action. You hear that, M. Night Shyamalan? I've got a piss-soaked mattress with your name on it, buddy. Oof, and we're not done yet. One of the scariest parts of this is how Cole walks up to the ghost thinking it's his mom at first. By the way, the mom is played by Toni Collette, also wearing a wig in this movie.
Mama?
No. Dinner is not ready. What are you gonna do? You can't hurt me anymore!
Tears in my eyes. I hate it. But at the same time, please tell me I'm not the only one who thinks this lady looks like Gary Sinise getting into drag for the first time. The hair and makeup department said, we're going for Betty Rubble meets Trapped Underneath the Rubble. Oh, this woman's performance, iconic and terrifying. You can't hurt me anymore! Ah! Ah! So scary. Like every kid's nightmare, thinking that you're talking to your mom and then turns around and it's some scary woman. And she's yelling at you. Also, this was the first time I made the connection between this ghost and the scene we saw earlier where Toni Collette comes back in and all of the cabinets are open. In this wide shot, we suddenly see that all of the cabinets are wide open and she's standing there in the kitchen, and it's like this surreal wide shot that just, it just wounds me in this way. Like that, along with those string music stings, like it just is bone chilling to the nth degree. I am obsessed with it. So 10 out of 10 night terrors for the misdirect of him thinking that it's his mother. And it's like this dramatic irony because we know it's not. We saw the thermostat go down. Oh. And then the fact that he like runs into the fort and she's following him down the hall. Making me puke.
Lenny, you're a terrible husband, Lenny! Look what you made me do!
Ooh, I keep doing this thing where I keep crying at this movie. My body is producing tears. Why is she screaming like that? Okay, you guys, who am I? Lenny! You're a terrible husband, Lenny! Look what you made me do! Lenny! You're a terrible husband, Lenny! That's how they make the married guy's wife seem in every gay porn video. Maybe that's what inspired M. Night. Piss-soaked mattress coming right up. My heart hurts from watching these scenes. Like, I love this movie, but when I condensed it down to just the most terrifying parts, I can barely take it. I think we need the slow, kind of quiet moments in between. The movie is just perfectly paced. It like feels like a horror movie, even though it's not trying to push horror in every single scene. It's trying to push characters and realism and story. I'm just so into it. I do wish that M. Night Shyamalan's career had sort of maintained this level of what I think to be cinematic innovation, especially like with his use of color, which you do see in a lot of his work, but just not to the same effect. I saw half of the movie Old on an airplane recently. I think I should do a review on that because I was like, So let me know what you think in the comments below. Did any of these scenes scar you for life? Let me know your thoughts on this movie below and any other M. Night works. I loved Unbreakable. Let me know in the comments below all of your opinions. But most importantly, if you're new to my channel, I would love to have you click that subscribe button right over here. That way you never miss new videos from me. I upload 2 new ones every week, so turn on notifications and you'll always be the first to know when I'm coming down the hallway, Lily, because you're a terrible husband! Also, I've got merch available and a Patreon where you can access exclusive bonus content and virtual watch parties. You guys are all the greatest. Thank you so much for getting scared of ghosts with me today. I will see you next time. Mwah!